Ross, I know it's Canade or Canad. He was a child psychologist. He was entrusted to treat youngsters' mental health as a lead psychologist at the Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation Trust. He was caught by a group of self-styled paedophile hunters in an online sting after he sent sexually explicit messages to a young boy who said he was aged just 15. The 53-year-old psychologist met up with his would-be victim at a Nando's and arranged to go to a local park so he could have sex with him. That would, of course, be statutory rape because a 15-year-old can't consent to rape. Thankfully, thank God, that was prevented, and he was sacked by the Tavistock Clinic, but he extraordinarily remains free to practice with children as a psychologist. Let's talk about this with Amy Gallagher. She's not only a former NHS nurse, she's also a former trainee psychotherapist at the Tavistock Clinic. Amy Gallagher, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Julia.
Again, these stories, they come along, you think they can't possibly be true. Someone must be misreading this. But this is somewhat, I mean, sacked by the Tavistock, oh, well done them. But a man working with very vulnerable children, basically grooming children online to basically sexually abuse them. That's what this is, to rape them. And he's free to work as a child psychologist.
Yeah, so he's still a registered psychologist under the Health and Care Professions Council. So he's still within the regulatory body that he was accepted into, which is remarkable given he has committed what most consider to be the most worst crime ever, or he was going to, he planned to essentially rape a child. And you've got to think that this is happening within an atmosphere within the mental health profession where in the last decade or last 20 years, people have been removed from their regulatory body for disagreeing with transgender ideology. They've been put through disciplinaries because they don't have the right views on anti-racism. Yeah. So we have the case of James Esses, for example, who was removed from his training course with immediate effect because he believes biology is real. Yeah. And there was my case as well, because I was training at the Tavistock and I was put through a fitness to practice procedure because I disagreed with critical race theory. I don't believe in white privilege. And for that, I was stopped from entering the regulatory body in which I was attempting to enter. Yeah. And yet we have a convicted paedophile who remains within the regulatory body. So,
it's utterly impossible to even comprehend. I know we spoke to James Esses many times on the show. He actually won, didn't he? He's actually won a tribunal over this. But again, career shot dead. Yours as well for simply, wrong think. For refusing to sort of pretend to believe something that you know not to be true and refuse to lie about this. Well, I'm thinking these are exactly the sort of people I want working in psychology, and especially with children. But this is what's so extraordinary. The Tavistock, as I say, they did actually at least sack this guy. I mean, I think that would be the bare minimum. But despite this conviction, let's say for child sex offences, he's not been suspended by the regulator. But I can't work out on what basis they could possibly justify someone continuing to be allowed to work with not just children, but by definition with vulnerable children when they have a known sexual interest in children.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. I mean, I think they have been alerted to the fact that he's still with the regulatory body, and hopefully they will remove him. But it is concerning that it wasn't acted on immediately, even if they do remove him. The fact that he could still technically practice now. Yep. Is extremely concerning. Yeah, very, very worrying.
I think it shows that the people at the top of these regulatory bodies are, frankly, I think they're the people who need help, not a lot of the patients, in terms of their judgments on these sort of things. I think they do not have child safeguarding at heart. I don't think they've got any business being in these jobs.
And this case also shows the double standards and hypocrisy within the law, because this man will likely get off on he won't face jail. It's very similar to the Hugh Edwards case, actually. Yeah. Sentence will be served within the community, because he's pleaded guilty, his sentence will probably reduced, and he's going to have mental health issues.
And also, he's lost his job, and so therefore he's even more of a victim, even though, of course, having that job would have made him someone who was able to know exactly how to, get a child. Amy Gallagher, the world is a scary, horrible, terrible place, and I'm glad you're one of the people trying to expose these things and make sense of it. Amy Gallagher, a former NHS nurse herself and a former trainee psychotherapist at the Tavistock. Claire Pearson, your face throughout, I mean, genuinely, it just defies belief, does it not?
And as you say, these are vulnerable children, and he got a 12-month suspended sentence. and still remains allowed to
Good
work
thing he didn't
with
write
children.
something nasty on Twitter then, eh?
Then
There
he
we
would have been
are.
locked up for
Exactly.
years.
Ian Collins is
Hello.
here. Tell us what's happening on his show.